Hello and welcome to screencast number 6 on chapter 21. This is new renewable energy alternatives, and we were talking about wind power. So we're going to look right now at the benefits of wind power. And of course, there's going to be some downsides that we're going to take a look at. There will be some charts of the United States that will give us an idea of how wind speed varies from place to place and where it would be beneficial in putting turbines. And I think that's what this screencast will be spent the most on, and then we'll move into geothermal energy, okay? So looking at the benefits, wind, other than building the equipment, doesn't produce any sort of carbon emissions or any polluting emissions. But to manufacture the equipment, it does. But the U.S. power plant, if it runs 1 megawatt of wind turbine for a year, it prevents the release of more than 1,500 tons of carbon dioxide and about 6.5 tons of sulfur dioxide and about 3.2 tons of nitrogen oxide and 60 pounds of mercury. So these are those emissions that are so bad. According to the EPA, the amount of carbon pollution that all the U.S. wind turbines together prevent from entering the atmosphere is equal to the emissions from nearly 10 million cars. If we look at any combusting type of cargo, maybe something like a freight train, if we had 750 car freight train of coal each and every day, it would be less than what that puts out. So under optimal conditions, the wind power appears very efficient in its energy investment. We get a 20-to-1 on average. That's better than most other energy sources that we have. The wind farms also use less water than do the conventional power farms or power plants would. It can be used on many scales, so we could use it from a single tower for a local use of a farm, or we could use hundreds that supply very large regions. The small-scale turbine development can actually help make local areas more self-efficient. So just a few of the advantages that it has. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that didn't advance again because I had hit the keypad twice. We can look at Rosebud Sioux tribe of their Native Americans that are in Dakota, and they put in one single turbine on their reservation. And that turbine produced electricity for 200 homes, and it brought the tribe $15,000 per year in revenue. The tribe has now developed a 30 megawatt wind farm nearby, and 20 more turbines are slated to be added soon. Okay, so we looked at some of the benefits that wind power has. We're going to continue with that. Another benefit is that farmers and ranchers can lease their land for wind development. A single large turbine can bring anywhere from $2,000 to $4,500 in annual royalties while occupying just a quarter acre of land. Most of the land can still be used for agriculture. Royalties from the wind power company provide the farmer or rancher revenue while also increasing property tax income for their rural community. So up front, the expenses to erect a turbine and to expand the infrastructure to allow electrical distribution is expensive. Unlike fossil fuel power plants, wind turbines incur no ongoing fuel cost. It's just the startup costs that are generally higher than those of fossil fuel plants. Wind farms incur fewer expenses once they are up and running, and because of advancing technology, the costs are being driven down, and we're looking at a unit of electricity produced from a wind farm is worth more than the cost of running it. We're also seeing about 85,000 Americans and nearly 700,000 global people globally are now employed in the wind industry. There's about 100 colleges and universities now that are offering programs and degrees to train these people. So of course, if we have benefits, we have downsides, and that's the way that the cookie crumbles. This is what we've seen. One of the biggest problems is we don't have control over when wind will occur. It's intermittent, and we can't depend that an area is going to be windy all the time, although we know that certain areas are windier than other areas. This means that we have to somehow store the power, and we could do that. We could even pump in stored hydropower to help compensate when we have windless times. We could definitely use batteries, hydrogen fuel or batteries, to store the energy that's generated by the wind so that we can release it at later times when it's needed, when there isn't any wind. So it varies place to place, as I mentioned. So that's a problem. There are some areas that are windier than others, and there are global wind patterns that are affected by topography and mountains and hills and bodies of water and forests and cities. They create their own local wind patterns. So resource planners and wind power companies really have to study the patterns closely before they can plan a wind farm. Meteorologists also use their research and their data to judge the prime locations for these wind farms. We're going to look at a map that shows the average wind speeds across the United States. And what this map is going to reveal to us is that mountainous regions are best, and also areas of the Great Plains are a good location. The wind power industry has located much of its generating capacity in the states with high wind speeds, and it's provided that the wind farms are strategically erected in optimal locations. So I guess an estimate 15% of the U.S. energy demand could be met using only 16,600 square miles of land. And that would be less than 5% of the land area that actually is occupied by the turbines and equipment and access roads to those turbines. So here's the map that I was talking about. You can see in A, this is the average wind power. So the darker areas, we're going to see the wind moving 9.5 to 10.5 meters per second. Excuse me. And in the lighter areas, we're going 0 to 4.5. I said meters, miles per second, sorry, miles per second. So the darker areas definitely, you can see, are in the Great Plains areas. Also, our darker areas are along our coastlines that you see, and then of course across the mountaintops. In picture B, we're looking at the actual wind generating capacity that was developed in 2013, and this shows the megawatts of wind power generating capacity that is developed in each of the United States through early 2013. And we can even see Pennsylvania. It's one of the higher ones. Texas, of course, is the one that produces the most. Okay, so most of North America's people live near the coast. They're far from the Great Plains and the mountain regions that have the best wind resources, so that provides a problem. We don't actually have continent-wide transmission networks yet, so we would need to set those up, and they would need to be enhanced to send wind power electricity to those population centers. Wind farms are proposed near populated centers. Local residents often oppose them. The turbines are generally located in an exposed, conspicuous site so that you're able to distinctly see them. And some people object to the wind farms for aesthetic reasons. They feel that the structures clutter the landscape, and polls show that even though they might support the existing projects, the proposed wind projects often elicit the idea of "not in my backyard" syndrome among people that live within the areas. This is what's happening with the Cape Wind project, and this has faced many years of opposition from the wealthy residents of Cape Cod and Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. And even though a lot of these residents consider themselves progressive environmentalists, they don't want the wind turbines there. Another detriment or concern is that it's a threat to birds and bats because they fly into the rotating blades and they get killed. So we have to do a little bit of more research on wildlife impacts, and one of the strategies that we could actually do is make sure that we're putting these turbines in sites that are not on the migratory flyways of the birds, especially in a prime habitat for the different species that might fly into the blades. All right, we have 13 minutes into this, so I am going to start geothermal energy on the next screencast. So we'll end this here. Have a good one and see you on the other side.